Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Palo Alto, where we come to transform ourselves and each other and the world. So good to see you all. Folks who are here online, you are welcome to keep your video on throughout the service. We will mostly keep our audio off, but you'll want to know where that unmute button is for the end of the service. And we have lots of sharing planned today. Online attendees, you can also see the order of service by following the link in the chat if you're here on the UUCPA campus. You can always scan the QR code at the table, the welcome table there where John is with the blue tablecloth as you come in, if you like your order of service electronic, or you can pick up a paper copy at the same place, or from an usher. So if you're here for this celebration of books and reading in person today, there are stickers, again, at the welcome table that say, ask me about, and I'm seeing lots of them on people for starting conversations about. Ask about a favorite book or something, an author that you like or something you like about reading, anything that you would like to talk about. And of course, you can look at other people's stickers and ask the question they ask you to ask. So online, I'd invite you to, when you come to the end of the service, put that in the chat so that people will know what are some things that we can all talk about books and reading together. I want to draw your attention to a couple important things coming up this week. One is on Wednesday evening. There is a listening session about how is the COVID vaccination policy working for you, or what suggestions do you have, what would you like to see, and what are your responses to the proposed change about that. So you can read lots more about that and how to access it on the website, but please do mark your calendars for Wednesday, or shoot a note to the task force if you have thoughts and you won't be able to share them then. And this Saturday, right here, the 11th at 6 p.m., we have our 75th anniversary campaign dinner extravaganza. If you are in this room right now, you are invited. If you are online, you are invited. If you have been involved in UUCPA and you feel any kind of investment in being a part of this community socially, please be there. We do, of course, have to know how many people to cook for. So please, if you have not RSVP'd already, just write an email to 75, the number 75dinner@uucpa.org. Again, more about that is on the website. And now, let us begin our service.
When we light our chalice today, we will honor all those who have sparked inspiration before us to words from the polymath and theologian Albert Schweitzer. If you have a chalice there with you at home, please light it along with us. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Amen.
Malcolm X said, "People don't realize how a person's whole life can be changed by one book."
With our centering words each week, we draw upon the many sources of our living tradition. Today's words are from Daniel Pennock, The Rights of the Reader. Number 1, the right to not read. Number 2, the right to skip pages. Number 3, the right to not finish. Number 4, the right to reread. Number 5, the right to read anything. Number 6, the right to escapism. Number 7, the right to read anywhere. Number 8, the right to browse. Number 9, the right to read out loud. And number 10, the right to not defend your tastes. So as we follow the sound of the bell into silence, we allow ourselves to arrive here fully.
Could baby Margot, her family, and her God family please come forward? We now have the great joy of welcoming a new child into the world and to our religious community. We welcome this child with joy and wonder to the miracle of life, and embrace her as a member of the family of humankind by formally giving her her name. We humbly thank the Spirit of life, which brought her forth and bestowed her upon her family and the world for a blessing. And we pledge our support to her family and the world, recognizing that we all have the power and responsibility to shape her world. Please join us in the responsive reading from the prophet by Khalid Gibran, number 715 in your gray hymnal. It is also on the screen. Amy and I will read the plain text. Please read the italics. Number 715.
Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself.
They come through you, but not from you. And though they are with you, yet they belong not to you.
You may give them your love, but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts.
You may help their bodies, but not their souls. For their souls dwell in the house of tomorrow, which you cannot visit, not even your dreams.
You may strive to be like them, but seek not to make them like you. For life goes not backwards, nor tarries with yesterday.
There are those from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth.
The archer sees the mark upon this path of the infinite. and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far.
Amen. What is the name of this child?
Margot Elaine Dillinger.
Margot Elaine Dillinger. We welcome you and we give you this name as yours forever. Margot, your first name honors your mother's mother, Mary Carol Dillinger, with the first 3 letters of her name. Your parents also love that, like your brother Doyle's middle name, Adrian, your name reminds them of the sea. You share your middle name, Elaine, with your grandmother, Karen Elaine Claridge, who is with us today. And your last name, Dillinger, is your family name that you share with your parents and your brother. We recognize all forms of family, biological and chosen. And so we take this time to honor Margot's family. Jen and Aneth, her parents, her brother Doyle, who is already an adoring, devoted older sibling, her grandmother Karen, who is right here, and her grandfather Don, who joins us via Zoom. Her godparents Elizabeth and Sergio, and their son Rowan. And Brian, I don't know your connection to the family.
Great godfather Brian.
Great godfather Brian. Are you a lucky kid? What a family you have. So what do you think? You want to stay with Dad, or can I hold you first? Okay. Here we go. Kat's got something for you.
Dear Margot, there is no one like you in the entire world. Your parents and your family and all of us welcome you in all your uniqueness. We're going to give you this rose now, different from all the other roses in the world, a symbol of your uniqueness and beauty. Margot, we welcome you to this community. Water is the stuff of life. Water connects all living things, all humanity. And this particular water comes from the water communion over many, many years. This rose is dipped into the water to symbolize your essential connection with all of us in this community. And with it, we bless your mind. We bless your heart, and we bless your hands, and all they will create and touch, and we bless your feet for all the places they will go. May your life blossom as beautifully as this rose.
I think she wants it. Give it to Jen. Right. Yeah, they're delicious. We were going to give the rose to Jen, but I think Margot's making good use of it. She knows it's hers. Aneth and Jen, Margot is not only your daughter, but as we said, the child of life itself with its infinite possibilities and myriad forms of beauty. To you is entrusted the sacred joy and privilege of guiding her life in all its possibilities and teaching her to recognize her own path, hoping that she will find her own truth and live her life according to her spiritual ideals. Do you then promise to the best of your ability by your example, your teaching, and your affection to raise Margot in the ways of truth, beauty, and love?
We do.
Elizabeth and Sergio, you have the solemn, happy duty of being Margot's godparents. She is very lucky to have you to learn from and celebrate with and trust. Do you promise to give her and her family your love and support, nurturing her in freedom and teaching her by your example to live a good and happy life?
Members and friends, adults, youth, and children of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Palo Alto, chosen community of this family, will you please rise as you are able? No child grows up outside the influence of his or her community, and no parent raises a child alone. If our hopes for Margot Elaine are to blossom, we must water them with love and commitment, creating the community for her that we wish to see flourish in her time. Do you promise to freely and wisely love and respect this child, to offer her your steady presence and your best selves, to nurture and sustain her and her family as they learn and grow and change together?
We do. Let us join our hearts together in the spirit of prayer and meditation. You may be seated. We give thanks for this new life that has come among us. Each new child brings us new hope for a new beginning. We see the great potential that lies in every human life, and we know that this child, Margot, will bring her unique gifts to humanity if we help her to do so. Let us begin today by saying the words of the unison blessing printed in the order of service and shown on your screen. May you grow to love only that which is good. May you seek and attain that good. May you learn to be gentle and respect yourself. May you serve your fellow humans in need. May you know good people all the days of your life. May you lessen a bit the tides of sorrow. May you come to know that which is holy in life. May its spirit abide with you always. Amen. Please join me in showering our blessings on this family. Let us say together, blessed be. Blessed be. Thank you. Will you please join me in singing Come Sing a Song With Me, which is number 346 in your gray hymnal. Now for the last verse, we are going to change our lyrics to Come Share a Book With Me. Seems very appropriate. Thank you, Joe, for that brilliant idea. Those going to children and youth religious education will go out through the lobby when we begin that verse. If you're not sure when to go or what room is yours, stick with Reverend Kat and the teachers. They will show you. Let's sing together. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me that I might know your mind. And I
I have two book comments from two of the major American philosophers George Carlin and Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry said, "If a book about failure doesn't sell, is it a success?" And Carlin said, "I went into a bookstore and asked, 'Where's the self-help section?' She said, 'If I told you, it would defeat the purpose.'"
By the way, another reason to come to the dinner this week is we're going to have more performance from Brian. Don't miss out. Now we turn our thoughts to the important events of our lives, which we wish this community to share. If you have a joy or a sorrow you would like me to speak this morning, you can put it up in the chat there. You can send your joys and sorrows to joyconcern@uucpa.org. And they will be shared aloud. And always, when you come into the main hall, you can fill out a card and or light a candle up here.
So one of the reasons that I am a Unitarian Universalist is that I take comfort from the many sources of our living tradition. And the one that comes to mind to me today is the source, wisdom from the world's religions, which inspires us in our ethical and spiritual life. Because as we celebrate books today, one book that has had a very profound influence on my life is a book titled The World's Religions by Euston Smith. This book has indeed inspired me in my ethical and spiritual life. And for disclosure, I first encountered this book under its original title of The Religions of Man. It was rewritten in 1991 to become The World's Religions with more inclusive language. And I'll start with a quote from the book. "We are about to begin a voyage in space and time and eternity. The places will often be distant, the times remote, the themes beyond space and time altogether. We shall have to use words that are foreign. We shall try to describe states of consciousness that words can only hint at. We shall use logic to try to cover insights that laugh at our attempt. And ultimately we shall fail. Being ourselves of a different cast of mind, we shall never quite understand the religions that are not our own. But if we take those religions seriously, we need not fail miserably. And to take them seriously, we only need to do two things. First, we need to see their adherents as men and women who faced problems much like our own. And second, we must rid our minds of all preconceptions that could dull our sensitivity and alertness to fresh insights. If we do these things, the veil that separates us from them can turn to gauze." End quote. So, now, a long time ago, when I was a young man, I had drifted away from the faith in which I was raised. I had tried to be good. I went through Lutheran catechism. I read the Bible. I attended Bible study. It was a matter of faith. I tried faking it until I made it. But doubt was so much stronger in me. I heard the beat of a different drummer, and my spiritual interests lay dormant. Until once upon a time in the faraway city of Los Angeles, while visiting my then fiance's mother, I stumbled across Euston Smith's book on her bookshelf and picked it up and started reading it. And the book consumed my attention. I must have known there were other religions out there, but they were never explained to me, nor was I encouraged to study them. But this subversive little book laid clear to me the non-secret that different people behave in different worship differently from each other. And in outlining the spiritual and cultural foundations of 7 of humanity's biggest religions, the book described to me in understandable ways why each one exists and what they each bring to people. I call this book subversive because in some ways I felt guilty just reading it, which probably helps explain why I found it so engrossing. How dare I consider anything other than the Word? But it was too late. The book was my teacher, and the book was also the friend that helped me break out of jail. The book helped free me to think critically, read widely, and practice things that had been closed off by my overly narrow thinking about thou shalt not. And once free, I roamed widely. Without this book, I would not have had the foundation to approach and read, for example, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the Dhammapada of Buddha, Charlotte Jojo Beck's Everyday Zen, Starhawk's The Spiral Dance, Michael Harner's The Way of the Shaman, Vine Deloria's God is Red, or John Buren's and Forrest Church's A Chosen Faith, an Introduction to Unitarian Universalism. These are all still books I keep on my shelf for reference. It is so fascinating to me that there are so many approaches to life, and books provide an awesome gateway to explore them. Books are many things. John Huston Smith's book, I keep getting the words wrong. He's not an actor, he's a religious studies professor. Huston Smith's book has also had another role in my life, that of a sparring partner. Many times when I pick it up, it still challenges my thinking, makes me argue and defend my thinking, and sometimes throws me to the mat when I realize I got something wrong. But that's good, because I think that function embodies the UU's fourth principle, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning. It's great to get excited to buy a book, to gain a critical insight, to just be filled with that energy of discovering something new. But we still have the responsibility to test it, to validate it, to ensure we're not just following a book to gain someone's acceptance, and to ensure we're not trying to force it on other people, no matter how much it may have helped us. So yes, this book started me off on a journey that I'm still on. Now, as an agnostic, animist, Zen, Unitarian, Universalist mystic, I still follow the beat of my own drummer. And as I've aged, I've come to accept that the drummer is like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. I'll never find them. But thanks to this book, I feel free to try. Mahalo.
Please join in singing We Would Be One, number 318 in our gray hymnal. Please rise in body or spirit. The words are there in your order of service if you're online. want to start out with an example from not a book, a different medium entirely. My possibly favorite episode of all of the Star Trek series. I know, I just started a fight. Anyway, I really love it. In this episode, people on a dying planet send out one last communication. And their device that contains this communication finds none other than Jean-Luc Picard of the Enterprise D. And in the space of minutes, its sort of inbuilt computer program takes his mind, his heart, his whole being into their world. It's like the most amazing realistic hologram program ever. It's so real, he's completely there. He falls in love. He practices a trade that he's never practiced before. He makes lifelong friends. He has a child and a grandchild. He mourns the impending doom of this planet he has come to love. And then the program ends, and he returns to be forever haunted and forever blessed by this experience. His life contains a whole other life. It's so much larger than it was before. I needed to start with this not from a book story because this is what books do for me. Maybe for you too. I live in other lives for a while. I have been a little white girl in small town, Depression, Jim Crow, Alabama. I've been a black man in Paris. I've been a man who lived in a tree house, and I got to live there for a while, the one he built in one of the tiny islands in the archipelago of British Columbia. I've been a brilliant and disaffected physicist from another planet who knows how to live like everybody in his society, taking care of everyone without anyone having private property. I've been the very ambitious, also brilliant aide-de-camp to General George Washington for a while. In a very strange interlude, I got to imagine what it was like to be a deceased person speaking to another deceased person about truth and beauty from one grave to the other. I've been able to be a middle-class woman in Regency England and face a future in which the only way I was going to have what I needed to live that was acceptable to everybody I knew was to find somebody to marry, like him or not. I have been a troubled teenage girl in urban Japan in the 2000s, and the US-American writer who was reading her diary. I've been a sharecropper who left the South and came out to California, sleeping in the car because motels wouldn't take me in. I've been a Chinese immigrant. I've been a captured, enslaved tribesperson waiting in a West African nation not my own to go who knows where to these shores. And look at all the places that we have been. Look at all the people we have been. Like Picard, after the creators of these worlds have worked their magic, we, whoever is lost in that book, I've returned to my own life, but a bigger one, more complex, with more rooms, it seems, than before I opened up that strange, transformative, magic pile of paper. In this life, in this skin, I can only be certain kinds of people. But through the amazing power of writers, their research, their imaginations, and then their words, that so improbably bring other lives to life for us, I can live a while as somebody I'm not. And I've learned over the years how thrilling it is to deliberately seek out experiences through books of lives so different from any I will ever live. So I can be a gay man, I can be a straight woman, I can be Indian or Chinese or Botswana. I can live long ago as a contemporary of the Buddha. I can live many, many years from now as a person of an almost unrecognizable earth. I can't travel in time in this skin, but thanks to these people, I get to do that. I can't go to other planets, but thanks to these people, I've done that lots of times, and I'll do it again. And I don't have any superpowers. Wait, maybe I do. I have one. Thank you to my daughter, who has it too, and so do you, and so do all these people. And that one's enough. That one is enough to make our lives unimaginably rich.
Anatole France. Never lend books. Nobody ever returns them. The only books in my library are those which people have lent me.
Are we on? Not yet? Oh, we are, okay. So our anthem this morning is called Love is Love is Love is Love, and it was written as a response to the shooting at the Pulse nightclub. And it's part of something really wonderful called the Justice Choir Songbook, which arose during the pandemic years and seeks to be a template for more community singing and for social and environmental justice. So it's really wonderful. You can check them out at justicechoir.org if you're interested in learning more about them. But we need your help for this anthem. So there's a part which we would love for you to sing with us, and we're going to teach it to you now. The words are very easy. Love, love, love. All you need is love. Those are your words. We have slightly different words. So the choir is going to teach that to you right now. It shouldn't take you too long to learn this. So here we go. Ready? And love, love, love. All you need is love, love, love. All you need is love, love, love. All we need is love. All we need is love. So your job, when I give you the signal to start, is just to keep singing that, and we're going to sing around with different parts that fit together nicely with that.
I'll be starting this reflection by reading to you the beginning of a sentence. I encourage you not to think about this too hard and just take notice of the first word or phrase silently that comes to mind. Ready? History is written by... Well, I imagine that many of you, like myself, would reflexively finish this adage with the victors. Now, like any well-worn proverb, we could interrogate this idea in all sorts of ways. But I'd like to start by acknowledging that it does speak to many truths about our collective lived experience. We've all witnessed in our own lifetimes how power and privilege have been employed to cover up historic injustices and erase entire swaths of the world from the historical narrative. But, there's always a but, I think there's a fatal flaw in the premise of this proverb. Saying that history is written by the victors implies that it can be written by any group in particular. In reality, each one of us no matter whether we are at the heights of power or on the very margins, is writing history all the time, whenever we put pen to paper or keystroke to text file and write about our own experiences. This doesn't mean, of course, that everyone's historical narrative will be saved and passed down to posterity. I think, unfortunately, the victors have an advantage on that front. Even so, no matter how much a side wins in the arenas that shape our world, whether it is politics, art, commerce, or religion, no one can simply will books or other texts into existence. We have to remember that everything that came down to us today was the product of hard human labor, from authors to scribes to typesetters to printers, all putting their own distinctive marks on history. Maybe the victors did bribe them with money, or they threatened them at sword point, but the victors never wrote to the history. Without scribes to strong-arm, they would have had nothing at all. And some of the greatest discoveries of ancient texts don't come from groups I would have thought of as victors. Take, for example, the Oxyrhynchus, very fun name, papyri, which were left in a literal trash dump, or the Dunhuang manuscripts, which were left in a sealed cave on the very margins of Chinese civilization for almost 1,000 years, or the Dead Sea Scrolls. And all the things that were found in these collections didn't exist because someone won, as though life was some sort of cosmic video game. They exist because someone cared enough to jot those things down in the first place. When I think of people who cared about writing things down, I can't help but look toward the Christian monks of medieval Europe, bent over in dim scriptoria and producing gorgeous illuminated manuscripts. This idea that copying something down and making it beautiful can be a religious vocation turned out to have an unexpected application in my own lifetime. You see, during the hard months of lockdown before the COVID vaccine became widely available, I found myself profoundly isolated, very unsatisfied by my daily work, and cut off from physical community. Part of what made isolation so hard was that a lot of the time I had nothing useful or interesting that I felt like doing. But one day, I remembered a site I made use of once called Standard eBooks, whose mission is to take books that have gone out of copyright, also known as public domain, and produces modernized, accessible ebook editions. So for all the gory details, please come to my talk after the service. Now that was a project that I could throw myself into. After hours of tedious work at my day job, I would throw myself into my ebooks projects. I would diligently proofread and clean up books from the public domain to make them available to modern readers, free of charge or restriction. Restriction, important part too. I even compiled all of Tolstoy's short stories into one collection, living, as Amy has mentioned, the lives of Russian peasants and soldiers, all kinds of people from a country that I never knew, never lived in a different time, but I experienced intimately through the power of these stories. And sometimes I would even take the text from page scans and proofread the garbled, computer-generated transcription line by line, so very much like the monks. And as I was doing that, I couldn't help escape the comparison. Wasn't I just doing the same thing those medieval monks did, but with much more modern tools? And like those monks, I found and still find moments of deep spirituality in my ebook endeavors, prayers by which I refreshed myself, appreciation for the wisdom of our forerunners, satisfaction that the work I was doing was making objects of beauty and intellectual merit available to my community. So, the next time you pick up a book, I invite you to reflect on this with me. How did this come to me? What does it say? that someone cared enough to make this thing that I have in front of me possible. May it be so. Amen.
Jean-Paul Sartre. I had found my religion. Nothing was more important to me than a book. I saw the library as a temple.
Our lives are made up of so-called other lives. The lives of characters that become almost like people we've met face to face, the lives of the writers who create them, the lives of beings from lands that are distant in time or space who enter our imaginations through print, the lives of people who pressed a book on us that then soaked into our spirit like ink itself. Each of us is part of others, as others are part of us. And we will deepen that interdependence today when we respond to each other's stickers or what we post in the chat by saying, yes, please tell me about that book that means so much to you. We practiced interdependence as well in giving and receiving our offering, recognizing that together we create the community that helps create each of us. The order of service gives a QR code and a link and also information on using text to give via Give Lively, and you can give a check or cash in person here if you prefer that, as Mike brings up the box for us. Thank you. Thank you.
This is a little gem by Ambrose Bierce. The covers of this book are too far apart.
Thank you. Please join in singing Building Bridges, number 1023, and our teal hymnal. Again, if you're online, the words are there in your order of service. We'll sing it through a couple times. And with that harmony, we extinguish our chalice, taking with us the flames that we have brought to one another, the smiles, the humor, the sorrows, the adventures, and all the things we have yet to share. They will keep the flame burning brightly until we meet again.
Francis Bacon, final word. Some books are to be tasted, others swallowed, and some few to be chewed and digested.
whether you're online or here in the main hall, please stay after the benediction for conversation time, and we know what we'll be conversing about. Make sure to greet somebody you haven't met before and get that conversation going, get that relationship going. Now, if you're online, please unmute yourself. Turn on your video if it isn't on already, if you're comfortable with that. You can touch hands like this against the box if you want. And here, if you're comfortable touching hands, we'll do that. And if not, you can show your solidarity by just putting your hands on your chest. As we say our benediction together, go out into the world in peace.